From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I am Samana Siddiqui. New York City's Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has appointed more than 400 people to help guide his move into City Hall. They are spread across 17 transition committees covering housing, transport, community safety, immigrant justice, technology, and economic development. He is also adding new committees on worker justice and community organizing. These areas were not part of earlier mayoral transitions. The team includes homeless outreach workers, real estate developers, union leaders, and grassroots organizers. Mamdani says he wants input from every corner of the city. He says New Yorkers expect real change that improves life for working families. His team has already received more than 70,000 resumes. The committees will advise on appointments and policy priorities. The announcement comes days after Mamdani met with President Donald Trump, where the two discussed affordability and public safety. A federal judge has dismissed criminal charges against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. Judge Cameron Curry said interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan had no authority to secure the indictments. Halligan was a former White House aide with no prosecutorial background. Comey had been charged with lying to Congress and obstructing a congressional hearing on Russian interference in the 2016 election. James faced bank-related charges. Both cases are now void, though prosecutors could refile them with a lawfully appointed attorney. The judge ruled that Halligan's appointment violated multiple federal laws and that all actions stemming from it were invalid. The White House pushed back, insisting that Halligan was properly appointed and vowing to appeal. The court also said only the district judges can name an interim U.S. attorney until the Senate confirms a permanent one. President Donald Trump has ordered a review to decide whether several chapters of the Muslim Brotherhood movement should be designated as terrorist groups. His executive order, signed Monday, directs senior officials to investigate branches in Egypt, Lebanon, and Jordan. The report will examine alleged ties to Hamas and what the White House calls destabilization campaigns that threaten U.S. interests. The Brotherhood has long been outlawed in Egypt and Jordan. Trump instructed the Secretaries of State and the Treasury to consult the Attorney General as well as the intelligence chief and deliver their findings within 30 days. Sanctions could follow within 45 days if officials deem them necessary. A designation would block financial support to the group and bar its members from entering the United States. The move comes days after Texas labeled the Muslim Brotherhood a foreign terrorist organization. It extended the same designation to the Council on American Islamic Relations, the United States' largest Muslim civil rights group. A far-right Australian senator has sparked outrage after walking into Parliament wearing a burqa. Pauline Hanson used the stunt to push her demand for a public ban on full-face coverings worn by some Muslim women. She has a long record of anti-immigration and anti-Muslim rhetoric, and her One Nation party gained 2 more Senate seats in May. Hanson appeared in the chamber shortly after being blocked from introducing the bill on Monday. It was the second time she has worn the garment in Parliament. The Senate erupted as Hanson took her seat. Lawmakers from all major parties condemned the act. Muslim Senators Mehreen Farouqi and Fatima Payman called it racist and disgraceful. Government leader in the Senate, Penny Wong, said the move was beneath the dignity of the chamber. She then sought to suspend Hanson for refusing to remove the garment. Proceedings were halted when Hanson declined to leave. She later defended her stunt on Facebook, saying it was a protest. 3 Muslim students in the Indian state of Maharashtra were forced to bow before an idol. Hindu nationalist activists confronted them after they offered a short prayer in an empty classroom. The incident took place on Sunday at Ideal College in the city of Kalyan. Videos online show members of the ultra-Hindu nationalist outfits VHP and Bajrang Dal surrounding the boys. They are seen shouting at them, ordering them to apologize and do sit-ups for praying in an empty classroom. They were then asked to bow before a Hindu idol. Police officers are seen standing nearby but do not intervene. Students say their prayer lasted only a few minutes and disturbed no one. Instead of acting against the activists, police reportedly agreed to treat the matter as an internal college issue. The students apologized to the college, but the activists demanded a second apology on camera. College officials have suggested they may still penalize the boys for violating campus rules. Community leaders say this incident is not isolated. They point to a growing pattern across India where Muslim religious practices are targeted and Hindu extremist vigilante groups face little resistance from authorities. A controversial U.S. and Israel-backed aid organization in Gaza is shutting down. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF, says it has closed all operations 6 weeks after a U.S.-brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas began. The group claimed it had completed its mission. Its director, John Acree, said the project showed a better way to deliver aid to Gazans. GHF ran for only a few months, and much of its work was kept secret. It acted as an alternative to the UN system and never revealed its funding sources. It also used armed contractors at its sites. Palestinians and aid workers said people had to pass Israeli troops to reach food. Witnesses said soldiers opened fire, killing many Palestinians. The Israeli military denies this. Contractors have said American guards also fired shots and stun grenades as Palestinians rushed for food. GHF said it will hand over its model to a U.S.-led center in Israel. It claims to have delivered more than 3 million food boxes since May. The Trump administration has moved to end temporary protected status, or TPS, for nearly 4,000 people from Burma. Details after the break, so stay tuned. The Trump administration has moved to end temporary protected status, or TPS, for nearly 4,000 people from Burma. Officials say the change will take effect on January 26th. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said TPS was always meant to be temporary. She said conditions in Burma have improved enough for citizens to return home. The administration says the country has made progress in governance and stability. It cites the end of the state of emergency, plans for new elections, and ceasefire deals with armed groups. It also highlights improvements in local administration and public services. The decision means thousands of Burmese nationals will lose their legal protection to stay in the United States. They will need to seek other legal options or prepare to leave once TPS expires. Immigrant rights advocates warn the situation in Burma is still fragile, but the administration says it is safe for return. A nonprofit group has bought the building in Mississippi where Black teenager Emmett Till was tortured and killed in 1955. The Emmett Till Interpretive Center says it aims to preserve the history of Till, whose murder marked a watershed moment in the American civil rights movement. The organization says the building will now be protected and turned into an international memorial. The purchase was funded by the Rhimes Foundation, created by television producer Shonda Rhimes. Till was only 14 when two white men kidnapped him, tortured, and killed him after he was falsely accused of whistling at a white woman. His murder became one of the most shocking cases of racist violence in U.S. history. His mother later held an open casket funeral, letting the world see the brutality of his torture and murder. Those images helped spark the U.S. civil rights movement. Local community leaders say preserving the site will help future generations understand the impact of Till's death. The memorial is expected to open by 2030. A senior Republican senator is openly opposing President Donald Trump's plan to distribute $2,000 tariff dividend checks to working-class Americans. Senator Ron Johnson says the country simply cannot afford it. He told Fox Business the United States is heading toward a $2 trillion deficit next year. Johnson compared it to far smaller deficits under former President Barack Obama and during Trump's first term. He called the current situation completely unacceptable. Trump wants to fund the checks with money raised from higher tariffs. But independent analysts say the numbers don't work. They estimate the plan could cost approximately $600 billion a year, while tariff revenue may bring in only half of that. Over a decade, the payouts could exceed $6 trillion. The administration says the payments would go only to people with moderate incomes. Congress would still have to authorize any program. Some Republican leaders argue the new tariff revenues should be used to reduce the national debt instead. The U.S. is moving to deport Dallas Muslim community leader Marwan Maroof after 30 years in the country. His removal is based on charity donations he made more than 2 decades ago. He gave nearly $14,000 in the 1990s to the Holy Land Foundation, a well-known Muslim charity at the time. It was later shut down by the government long after his donations were made. Maharouf's lawyers say the payments were simple zakat, or charitable donations, not support for terrorism. They argue the case criminalizes basic religious giving. Despite this, an immigration judge denied Maharouf a voluntary departure and dismissed concerns about his failing health. Maharouf has been held in a Texas detention center since September. He suffers from a dangerous heart condition. His family says detention has pushed him to the brink. Rights groups called the case a targeted attack on Muslim charitable life. They warned that it sets a dangerous precedent where decades-old donations are treated as threats. They argue that America is punishing a man for lawful actions taken long before any terror designation existed. 3 Pakistani troops and 3 attackers were killed on Monday in a suicide assault on a paramilitary headquarters in the city of Peshawar in northwest Pakistan. Police said 3 suicide bombers tried to storm the federal constabulary compound. Officers stopped them at the gate and 1 bomber detonated at the entrance. The other 2 made it inside but were shot dead in a brief gunfight. Security forces quickly sealed the area. A clearance operation is underway. Pakistan's President Asif Ali Zardari and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif condemned the attack. Both leaders said Pakistan will continue its fight against armed groups despite what they called cowardly acts. The assault is the latest in a series of attacks in the region where security forces remain frequent targets. Africa is renewing its push for a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. Leaders made the call at the African Union-European Union Summit in Luanda, the capital city of Angola. They said the continent cannot remain sidelined while global conflicts and financial decisions shape its future. African Union Commission Chair Mahmoud Ali Yusuf said global rules are breaking down. He urged reforms based on the Ezulwini Consensus and demanded equal representation in global financial bodies. The Ezulwini Consensus, adopted by the African Union in March 2005, is the continent's unified demand for UN Security Council reform. It calls for 2 permanent seats with veto power and 5 non-permanent seats for Africa, chosen by the African Union itself. Yusuf also asked Europe to support African industries. He called for investment in mineral processing, fairer trade, and the removal of tariffs that limit African exports. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said permanent African seats would help fix a historic injustice and strengthen global peace. Israeli soldiers killed a Palestinian man in southern Gaza on Tuesday. Medics say he was killed near Khan Yunis inside an Israeli-controlled zone. They call it a clear breach of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas that has been in place since last month. Hospitals in Gaza received 17 bodies in the past 24 hours. 14 were pulled from the rubble. 16 others arrived wounded. Health officials say Israeli attacks have killed 345 Palestinians and injured 889 people in Gaza since the start of the October 10th ceasefire. In the occupied West Bank, Israeli forces carried out an overnight raid in Jenin. The army said 1 man, Sultan al-Ghani, was killed and 5 others were detained. The United Nations warns that Gaza's destruction has pushed its economy to the brink. A UN trade report says rebuilding will cost more than $70 billion and could take decades. It has called for urgent international action. The UN Human Rights Office has also raised alarms over Lebanon. It confirms that Israeli strikes have killed at least 127 civilians since a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon went into effect nearly a year ago. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 69,775 Palestinians and wounded 170,965 others since October 2023. Many people remain trapped under rubble. A new study has found that a successful root canal can do more than save a tooth. It may also protect your heart and improve blood sugar levels. Researchers at King's College London tracked 65 patients for 2 years. All had a common dental infection that can push bacteria into the bloodstream and increase inflammation. After treatment, patients showed clear health gains. Blood sugar levels dropped over time. Cholesterol and fatty acids also improved. Inflammation markers linked to heart disease fell as well. Scientists say infections inside a tooth can trigger wider health problems. Bacteria entering the blood can raise the risk of diabetes and heart disease. Treating the infection cuts those risks. The study was published in the Journal of Translational Medicine. Researchers say dentists and doctors should work more closely and monitor simple blood markers to protect overall health. Lead author Dr. Sadia Niazi called the findings a reminder that oral health and general health are deeply connected. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. Please donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.